I had an interesting kind of problem solution pop up that was gracious. The guy's going 55 miles an hour. So sometimes I'm I'm like intuitive to the point that just very, very little information, and come out with like the big picture. I'm not everything, but like way more information than I could possibly have gotten from the little bit of information I have. But then based on the fact that like I'm also turning 55, I've lived a very life that has involved a lot of different unusual things. So I've seen stuff. Let's stop really fast. Stop for this yellow light. Calm down. I can't catch up with that guy that was going like 90. So also I read a lot of books. We watch movies. I've read poetry. I listen to songs. Like all these things are about experiences. Even hypotheticals. I also love hypotheticals. So I get just a little bit of information, and then boom, like a magician, like Sherlock Holmes, I deduce a reality, and it turns out to be the reality. And I notice that this almost always makes people fucking angry, and I don't get it. I've never gotten it, and I'd done this thing. I basically guessed that, then got some correct information, and then then I guessed again and got even more. Got even more information. I was correct twice. Now, based on these two guesses, so I'd already kind of like, just imagine like you're in a field or something. You're in a pool of water. You're in the ocean, and somewhere is Hawaii, and so on my third guess, I basically guessed the location of Hawaii, and people freak out. I mean, they get angry. And here's what I hear a lot: you couldn't have known that. They snap at me. So basically, that happened. You couldn't have known that snapped into my face. It didn't matter that I did know that. I figured it out, and it was the truth. They knew it was the truth, and they couldn't imagine how I could possibly know that was know the truth. And so I mentioned it to a buddy of mine. And he says two things. One is, you're probably able to guess and anticipate things that they cannot. It's kind of like you could guess there's a brick wall, but they're not going to be able to. They know they're not going to be able to. So they will always drive into the brick wall. And so by you being able to deduce the fact that there's going to be a brick wall there, means you're also going to be able to avoid it. And so you don't crash into brick walls, but they do. So in one hand, it's like you saying that you're better than them, or you're trying to prove that you're better than them. And then he said, but then on another thing that might be true as well, or another theory of why someone might get angry when you guess the truth of something, is it might confuse them. And he says like he had elderly parents, and their memories aren't working as well, and when they get confused, they get angry because basically they're frustrated. They're frustrated that their brains don't work like they used to. And so when I guess the reality of the situation, or I guess the full story, all the information, and they get confused because how could you know? They can't see the leaps in logic, the intuition with fragments of information that you somehow draw out the big picture of it. That's a skill, and you gain that in many cases from practice. And over the decades, you get good enough that it almost seems like that's impossible that you could know that, and then they get confused, and then you made them confused, And so they're angry at themselves or angry at you or angry at the situation. Fuck, that makes perfect sense now. It had the, like, there was I told the story before, so I'm not going to tell it again. But basically, like, I guessed what somebody had been doing earlier in that day, based on their dress and the dirt they had on them and some other things that they had with them. I was able just to predict how they had how they spent their morning. And the first thing they said was no. And I'm like, then what are all these, what's this then? Then what's this then? What's this then? And it turned out I was completely right. And I'm like, why did you tell me? If I guessed exactly what you were doing before you arrived, why would you tell me no? And he said like kind of nonchalantly, he's like, well, there was no way you could have known that. It's like, imagine like the Sherlock Holmes books where he does not solve any of the murders because people just don't tell him the truth. Because, well, I mean, how would you know that? Like he sees like you've got ink on your finger and 3 different colors of dog hair on your pant leg and mud splatters up one side of your body but not the other, and like totally deduces what you do for a living, where you work, and how you arrived. And the person just go like, no, not because he wasn't right about all those things. It's like, no, you couldn't have known I have 3 dogs. So no. You have 3 dogs? No. I still feel the same way about Socrates. I believe the reason why Socrates was forced to kill himself or be exiled was he just made people feel stupid. And the thing was, he was having them come to correct conclusions, using only the information inside their own head. So he wouldn't tell them the right answers. He would just ask them questions of like, would a soldier would be a perfect person to lead a community? You just ask them question after question after question, then they'd come up with the answer, realize they don't like the answer, and realize their own brain did it. Their own brain came up with an answer that they don't like. And then they're like, well, Socrates, I think I'm going to need you to die. And I like how it was kind of like he was kind of corrupting the youth. But like, dad does a thing that his dad taught him, and they both grew up, in Athens or whatever, and that's how it's always been done. And then their kids like saying like, Dad, I don't think that I noticed that the people that are getting running water to their villas using the lead pipes are getting sick and dying. So maybe it's like, if that wasn't happening before, maybe it's the lead pipes that are doing it, because that's the only change. It's that they're drinking the exact same water, and they're in the house they've been living in for generations. All the cups they're using are the same cups. The only change is the lead pipes that now deliver water to their homes. So I think that's the cause. And they're like, God damn it, who made you think that? No, I thought of it myself, Dad. Socrates was helping me. Socrates was asking me questions, and I came up with the answers. Well, I guess Socrates has to die.